"On my son's birthday," he said. "I wish you'd just disappear. What happened next will haunt you." The air crackled with tension as Jason's chilling words hung in the small living room like a foreboding storm cloud. It was his 8th birthday, a day meant for cake and laughter, yet instead, he had sent a shiver down his mother's spine. What could a child so innocent know of the dark shadows that danced behind their home? It wasn't just a wish. It felt like a curse, echoing in the silence that followed, harrowing, heavy, and dangerously real outside. The sun had begun its descent, staining the sky in ominous shades of orange and crimson. When Ellen glanced around, she noticed how the trees swayed listlessly, as if they too were unsettled by his words. The neighbors had always whispered things about the old house on the corner, where strange noises erupted, nightly banging, cries, and the unmistakable sound of something dragging. She had always dismissed it as mere gossip, folklore among the bored housewives, but now it gnawed at her. Did something lay restless there, waiting? Moments before the shadow of night fell, a sudden gust rattled the windows, and chills shot through Ellen's spine. Jason stared out, wide-eyed, as he clutched his cake decorated with superheroes. "What if they really do come to get me?" he said, his voice trembling. Panic clawed at Ellen's chest, her heart racing. He shouldn't be speaking like that. Something was wrong. It felt as if the very walls were absorbing his fears, growing thicker, wrapping tighter around them. Suddenly, the door creaked open, though nobody stood on the other side. A chill slithered across her neck. Ellen called out, but the only answer was silence. Friendly laughter that had filled the air just moments ago turned to a whispering suspense. Her friends had left, but it felt as if they were still there. Shadows lingering, watching, waiting. Something was definitely off. She could feel it. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." The wind howled, intertwining with Jason's breathy whispers. "It won't be long," he muttered as if caught in a trance. That knotted feeling in Ellen's stomach twisted tighter. Then came a knock on the door, singular, sharp, echoing through the silence. It stopped her heart. Who could it be? The blood drained from her face as she opened the door just a crack. The darkness greeted her. No voice, only an unsettling chill that slipped through the gap, wrapping around her like icy fingers. She squeezed the knob, hesitating, sweat pooling on her brow. "Mom," Jason's voice broke through the haze, urgent yet distant. She turned to find him backing away from the window, eyes wide, mouth agape. Something was out there, in the shadows, watching them. Her mind raced. Visions of sinister figures flickered in her thoughts. "What did you mean?" she whispered, panic lacing her words. The air thickened, a tangible dread settling in the room. Then, as a shadow crossed the threshold of the doorway, Ellen's heart pounded like a drum, fear surging through her veins. Was this what Jason had wished for? Someone or something returning to seal their fate? She clutched her son to her, not knowing what horror awaited them just beyond the door. She couldn't shake the feeling that once it was opened, they'd never return to the safety of their quiet lives. What was lurking in the dark? What had Jason really invited into their world? She held her breath, desperate to protect him, desperate to understand. Ellen's pulse thundered in her ears, drowning out the whispers of the wind. Every fiber in her being screamed for her to slam the door shut, to barricade themselves away from whatever was lurking beyond. But the soft, terrified voice of her son cut through the chaos, pulling her back to the present. "Mom, we need to hide," Jason urged, his eyes fixed on the growing shadow. Panic radiated from him, and she could feel it tugging at her heart. "No, we need to see who it is," she insisted, voicing her defiance against the darkness creeping in. Gathering every ounce of courage, she opened the door wider, expecting to confront an intruder. But the world outside was empty, shrouded in darkness. A gust of cold wind swept through the door, wrapping around her like a shroud. She shivered. The quiet was too profound, like the silence before a storm. Ellen felt her breath hitch in her throat as she stepped outside. The street was barren, an eerie stillness settling over everything. The trees stood like sentinels, their bare branches clawing at the burned orange sky. The old house at the end of the street loomed, its windows blackened like hollow eyes watching their every move. She had always thought it was just an abandoned place, but something deep inside her stirred a warning she could not ignore. "Mom," Jason called, and she turned back to him. He was rooted to the spot, shaking like a leaf. "There's something in the window." Ellen glanced back, squinting against the fading light. Something moved behind the glass, a dark shape shifting, swirling. It was almost human. Almost. The sight felt wrong, and an unsettling sensation trickled down her spine. She needed to protect her son, but terror held her frozen. "Let us go inside. Now." She reached for Jason, wrapping her arm around him tightly. They stumbled inside, slamming the door shut behind them. The world outside clawed at the door, a howling wind that seemed to echo the boy's earlier dread. Inside the living room, the atmosphere shifted. It thickened, closing in on them like a vice. Ellen grabbed Jason's shoulders, her voice frantic. "What did you mean outside, Jason? What did you see?" "I don't know. I just felt them. I wish I didn't." He cried, tears flowing down his cheeks. "They're coming for us. I felt them." Ellen's heart sank. What truth was buried in her son's fears? A rattling sound broke through the tension, making her flinch. It was the back door this time, banging against the frame. Something was trying to enter. She rushed to check, knowing full well that venture comes with risk, but unwilling to let the terror seep into their home. "What's going on?" she demanded, opening the door. Half expectation met the chilling reality of emptiness. Dark shadows flickered just outside the corner of her vision, wisping like smoke. Could she trust her instincts? Jason tugged on her sleeve, his small hand trembling. "Please, Mom, let us go somewhere safe. They won't stop until they find us." His words echoed like a death knell in her mind. She looked around, searching for something to hold on to, some form of reassurance in the chaos. Then her gaze caught the old toy chest in the corner, the one they had kept hidden, remnants from when Jason was younger. Had they really left things behind? Maybe it could help. But would it be enough? The back door rattled once again, more insistent now, the sound increasing in ferocity. Ellen's heart raced. They needed to act. "Jason, this way!" she shouted, and they dashed towards the shadowy figures looming outside. Time stretched as they crossed the room, the air growing heavy around them. Just as they reached the chest, a deafening crash resounded through the home, shaking the foundations. Darkness swept in from every corner, tendrils of fear tightening around them. Ellen looked at Jason, desperation filling her eyes. "Hold on tight." Clutching each other, they dove into the chest as the world exploded into chaos around them. What awaited them in that dark place? Where would this portal lead? The very ground beneath felt like it could swallow them whole. As they fell deeper into the unknown, a chilling whisper echoed through. "You wished for this, now it's time to play." A knot of dread twisted tighter within her as everything faded to darkness. Had they opened a door they would never be able to close? With nowhere to run and everything at stake, the harrowing game had only just begun. What had Jason truly invited into their lives? Could their bond withstand what lay ahead? Ellen's stomach lurched as they plummeted into the abyss. The darkness enveloped them, swallowing every last shred of light. She clutched Jason tighter, her mind racing. What in the world had they entered? As they fell, the weightlessness morphed into a sudden jolt, and they landed not on the ground, but on a cold stone surface. The air shimmered oddly around them like heat waves on a summer day, putting Ellen on edge. She blinked, trying to adjust her eyes to the dim light that flickered nearby. "Where are we?" Panic clawed at her throat as she slowly pushed herself up. Jason groaned beside her, still dazed. "Mom?" His voice quaked, breaking through the fog. "I'm here, buddy," she whispered. "Stay close." They stood in what appeared to be an enormous cavern, the walls glistening with moisture. Vines snaked through the cracks in the stone, pulsating softly as if alive. The smell of damp earth filled the air, mixed with something sweet that almost felt deceptive. Suddenly, a low growl resonated in the distance, echoing ominously through the underground space. Ellen stiffened, instinctively wrapping her arms around Jason, who was trembling fiercely. What was that? He stammered, eyes wide with fear. I don't know, she admitted, her mind racing for an answer. We need to find a way out. Ellen scanned their surroundings. The flickering light seemed to be coming from clusters of bioluminescent fungi scattered along the cavern walls, illuminating a narrow path leading deeper into the darkness. Mom, let us go back, Jason pleaded, his voice rising in pitch. No, we can't go back out there, she hissed, glancing towards the pathway that stretched into darkness. We don't know what's after us. We need to keep moving. With her heart hammering against her chest, Ellen urged Jason forward. The path twisted and turned, the air thick with tension as they inched deeper into the unknown. Every shadow felt like it was stretching toward them. Then, just ahead, she spotted a glint, a makeshift altar draped in what looked like dried leaves and stone offerings. Atop it lay a small rusted bell, almost glowing in the otherworldly light. That's so weird, Jason murmured, his curiosity piqued despite his fear. Stay back, Jason, Ellen warned, instinctively sensing danger. Yet she felt drawn to it, an inexplicable compulsion to reach out. As she stepped closer, something flickered to life, a dark shape emerging from the shadows behind the altar. It crawled forward, its form bending and twisting as if it was made of smoke and dread. Welcome, it hissed, voice slithering into her ears like ice. You've come to play. Ellen's breath hitched as she recoiled, heart racing. What do you want? Your son, it rasped, nodding toward Jason, who was clinging to her side like a lifeline. You made a wish, didn't you? A wish to disappear, and now we are here to make it happen. Time slowed. Ellen's mind raced back to Jason's innocent words. Had they really invited this darkness? The betrayal surged in her heart, stronger than the fear. No, Ellen shouted, finding her voice amid the chaos. You can't have him. Panic fueled her determination, and she stepped protectively in front of Jason. But the figure only smiled, a smile that felt wrong in every possible way. Oh, but it's not your choice to make. You both belong to us now. A sharp pain tore through Ellen's chest as the shadows around them closed in, tendrils wrapping tighter and tighter. In that moment, everything she had tried to shield Jason from was crashing down. Desperation surged within her as she gripped his hand tighter. Do you want to disappear? Or do you want to fight? She asked breathlessly, locking eyes with her son, willing him to see the choice that lay before them. In that heavy silence, Jason's voice broke through the fear. I want to stay with you, Mom. With a surge of defiance, Ellen breathed through the fear, feeling it ignite into rage. In their darkest hour, could love be their only light? The shadow figure lunged forward, ready to strike. What could they possibly do to escape this nightmare? Would their bond be the strength they needed to survive the playhouse of horrors that awaited? Ellen braced herself as the shadow figure lunged, darkness flaring around it like a tempest. She tightened her grip on Jason's hand, adrenaline surging through her veins. Nothing else mattered but keeping him safe. The world seemed to slow as she sprang to the side, ducking low, and dragging Jason behind a massive stone that jutted from the ground. What do we do? Jason whimpered, eyes wide, panic reflecting off his innocent face. Just stay close and trust me, Ellen whispered, her heart pounding in her ears like a war drum. She pulled him beneath the shadow of the stone, where the bioluminescent fungi flickered above like stars in a dying sky. The dark shape paused, its head twisting as it searched. Its elongated form seemed to stretch, reaching outward, almost tasting the air. You can't hide, it hissed, its voice slithering over her skin. That Ellen's mind raced. They couldn't let it corner them. It was now or never. We need to find something we can use, any weapon, she muttered, scanning the altar. That bell. It might be important. Mom, it's too dangerous. Jason pleaded, trembling. I know, she replied, fighting the urge to let fear paralyze her. She glanced back at the figure, which was still searching, its attention momentarily diverted. Keep quiet and follow me. Ellen edged out from behind the stone, inching closer to the altar. Heart thudding, she reached for the bell. The moment her fingers grazed the cold, rusted metal, a chilling energy pulsed through her. It vibrated in tune with the darkness surrounding them, as if it had been waiting for this very moment. Mom! Jason's voice broke like glass, a warning too late. The figure snapped its attention back to them, eyes glinting with malicious hunger. Foolish choice, it snarled, inching closer. Ellen yanked the bell from the altar just as the figure lunged with a piercing shriek that echoed through the cavern. She didn't hesitate. With all her strength she rang the bell, its sound slicing through the thick, oppressive air like a ray of sunlight. The cavern trembled, the shadows recoiling as if struck. The figure faltered, a look of rage transforming to shock. "What are you doing?" It spat, voice tremulous with panic. "I'm fighting for my son," Ellen shouted, ringing the bell again, more ferociously this time. With every chime the cavern seemed to fight back. The walls trembled, ancient vines shuddered, and a warm light began to break through the edges of the darkness, flooding the space with warmth. Jason watched with wide eyes as the shadow figure twisted in agony, the light pushing it back. "Keep ringing it, Mom," he urged, feeling hope creeping back in. Ellen rang the bell again and again, the sound piercing the veil of shadows. Memories flooded her mind, happy moments with Jason, his laughter, his wonder. Each ring became a prayer for their safety and a promise of love. The shadows began to dissolve, smothering the sinister figure in a cascade of light. For a fleeting moment it seemed trapped, its form flickering like a dying ember, but its eyes burned with fury. "You have not won. I will find you again," it screeched before disappearing in a final howl. The weight of the darkness lifting breathless, Ellen dropped the bell, its last chime echoing softly. She turned to Jason, their eyes meeting in a moment of pure raw relief. "We did it," she gasped, the world around them feeling somehow different now. "Are we safe?" Jason asked, that vulnerable, hopeful look still etched on his face. I hope so," Ellen replied, glancing around, still wary. The cavern may have changed, but they were not out of the woods yet. As they turned, seeking a way out, the ground beneath them trembled ominously once more. A rumble echoed through the cavern, and pieces of earth began to shift away. Out of the shadows sprang figures, more twisted than the first. Their eyes glowed in the dim light, hungry for chaos. The fight wasn't over yet. Would they be able to find an escape before the darkness returned with a vengeance? Ellen barely had time to process the terrifying realization that the fight was far from over. The ground shook violently, sending a jolt through her body as she pulled Jason closer. The air felt thick with dread, like a storm about to unleash its fury. "We need to move," she urged, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. She glanced over her shoulder, heart racing, as the twisted figures emerged from the shadows, grotesque silhouettes with sharp edges and piercing eyes. "Mom, I'm scared." Jason clung to her, his small body trembling. "I know, sweetheart. Just keep up with me," she said, determination hardening her voice. She couldn't let fear take over. Squeezing his hand, she darted toward a narrow passage that veered to the right, convinced it was their only chance. The figures screeched in unison, a haunting chorus that echoed off the cavern walls. Ellen glanced back and saw them close in, dark mouths agape, eager to swallow them whole. Each step felt like they were running through molasses, the shadows stretching toward them like clawing hands. "Faster, Jason," Ellen urged, adrenaline pushing her forward. She entered the passage, darkness swallowing them like a thick fog. Glimmers of light peeked through cracks in the rock, giving her hope, but the sound of pursuit was relentless, echoing menacingly behind them. Suddenly, they stumbled into a cavernous chamber, vast and overwhelming. Bioluminescent plants glowed softly, casting an eerie, pale blue light across rough stone walls. But time for marveling was short. They could hear the figures behind them, relentless and gaining ground. "Look," Ellen pointed to an opening on the other side of the chamber, just visible through the flickering lights. She compelled Jason to run ahead of her, pushing him toward safety while she faced the encroaching darkness. The figures lurked at the edge of the chamber, hesitating as if the light held them at bay. Ellen rang the bell again, its chime reverberating through the chamber, a desperate plea for power in the face of despair. "Stay back," she shouted, stepping protectively in front of her son. She felt the vibrations of the bell resonate deep within, an ancient force awakening. The shadows recoiled but did not retreat, snarling as they swayed closer. "You think your light can save you?" A guttural voice reverberated, echoing around the chamber. Ellen searched for the source, heart racing. "Yes," she shot back, fueled by the bond she had with Jason. "We will not be your prey." The figures shrieked in anger, lunging forward, cutting through the light with their darkness. Ellen's mind raced. An idea struck her like lightning. Jason, the bell. We need to amplify its power. Confused, Jason grasped the bell tightly. But I thought it was over. It's not. We need to believe in its magic. Ellen urged, her own voice shaking with uncertainty. But she fought to mask her fear. They had just a moment to see as the figure surged toward them. Ellen shouted sternly, "Ring it, Jason. With everything you've got." Gritting his teeth, Jason brought the bell to his chest, fear blending with courage. He rang it again. The bell's sound sliced through the cavern like a laser, and suddenly the glow around them intensified. With each clang ringing out, the darkness thinned, the figures bewildered as their forms flickered like candle flames in a wind. Ellen felt a surge hope mingling with the energy of their love. But just then, a new shadow emerged, larger, darker than the rest, its eyes burning like coals in the night. It looked at them and Ellen's heart dropped. "Foolish creatures," it hissed. "You can't run from your fate." Before she could react, the vast chamber began to tremble, rocks tumbling from the ceiling as the dark figure surged forward, teeth bared and ready for chaos. Would they withstand this terror long enough to escape? The answer hung heavily in the air, awaiting the dreadful climax. Ellen's breath quickened as the monstrous shadow loomed larger, its presence pressing down like an unbearable weight. The chamber trembled beneath them, and loose stones rained down, echoing in chaotic harmony with her racing heart. The air was thick with tension, a stark contrast to the soft glow of the bioluminescent plants that flickered in confusion. "Jason, keep ringing it," she screamed over the cacophony, determination igniting a fierce fire within her. Fear clawed at her throat, but she forced it down. They had come too far. The bell's sound pierced through the darkness, becoming their lifeline in the storm. Jason's small hands trembled, but he gripped the bell tighter and rang it again, its chime erupting into the cavern with a potent echo. Each clang seemed to peel away the layers of shadow, revealing glimpses of the monster's grotesque forms now writhing in the light. But the larger figure pushed through, relentless and furious. Ellen could feel the air charged with its malice. "You think this pitiful sound will save you?" it snarled, advancing with a thunderous roar that silenced even the relentless chattering of the smaller monsters. "We have hope," Ellen shouted, holding her ground as Jason rang the bell again, tears streaming from his eyes. "We will fight." In that moment the shadows halted, confusion flickering across their twisted faces. The light from the bell began to weave around them, flickering in and out with the rhythm of Jason's resolve. As the figures staggered back, Ellen felt a rush as an ancient energy thrummed beneath their feet. "Mom, it feels like it's alive," Jason exclaimed, his voice wavering but alight with newfound courage. "Yes, it is," Ellen encouraged, her heart swelling with pride. "It's the magic of our love." She could hardly believe they were grasping at something so powerful, yet the belief surged through her, feeding the light. Before she could fully comprehend it, the floor beneath them split apart, opening a chasm lined with glistening crystals that pulsed with energy. The cavernous tremors grew more violent. It felt as if the very heart of the mountain was protesting their presence. "We have to go," she urged, pulling Jason toward the growing rift. But the dark figure wouldn't let them escape easily. It lunged forward, a massive claw reaching out to ensnare them. Ellen reacted on instinct, thrusting Jason behind her as she summoned the deepest reserve of strength within. "Ring it again, Jason. Now." He struck the bell with desperate urgency, and the chime rang out, more powerful than before. The cavern exploded with light, blinding for a shocking instant. Shadows snapped back, pulled into the fissure as if the light had chained them, their screams mingling with the chaos around them. Ellen twirled to face the emerging rift, the ground beneath her becoming unstable. "Come on, Jason." She grasped his hand tightly, adrenaline surging through her veins as they stepped closer to the edge. But something kept pulling at her, a chilling sensation creeping up her spine. She turned back, and in that fleeting moment before they leaped, she caught sight of the dark figure, now partially consumed by the rift. It stared at her, eyes burning with fury but also something else, an echo of familiar pain. "This isn't over," it hissed, the words leaving a haunting chill that permeated the air. Ellen's heart raced as she and Jason leapt into the unknown, hands clinging tightly to each other. Would they plunge into a deeper darkness, or would a new dawn await them on the other side? As they fell into the void, an explosion of blinding light erupted behind them, and Ellen heard a chilling whisper in the wind, sending goosebumps crawling down her arms. Find me what awaited them on the other side. The question lingered, heavy and unanswered, as they raced toward an uncertain fate. Light engulfed them, a swirling vortex of brightness and chaos that felt both familiar and terrifying. Ellen clutched Jason's hand tighter, panic flooding her heart as they fell deeper and deeper into the unknown. Images flashed in her mind, memories of laughter, warmth, and a promise to protect him at all costs. "Hold on, Jason," she shouted, though she could barely hear her own voice over the howling wind as they tumbled through the blinding light. Darkness clawed at the edges of their vision. Just when Ellen feared they might be ripped apart, they landed. The impact was softer than expected, like being cradled in a blanket of cotton. They found themselves sprawled upon a patch of grass, vibrant and green, as vivid as the sunlit days of summer. Ellen blinked away the dizziness, the surreal landscape settling in her mind. "Where are we?" Jason's voice trembled and Ellen turned to him, sensing the apprehension mirrored in his eyes. Before she could answer, a soft rustling pulled her attention to the trees surrounding them. They were unlike any trees she had seen before, with smooth silver trunks and leaves that shimmered like emeralds in the daylight. A feeling of safety wrapped around them, at least for the moment, and then she heard it, a faint whisper, beckoning her to turn. Her heart raced as if answering a call only she could hear. It was familiar yet eerie, sending shivers down her spine. "Find me." The air thickened. The once comforting feel of the place now felt charged, as if the whole forest was listening. "Mom, do you hear that?" Jason's voice cracked, and she felt his small fingers tighten around hers. "I do," she replied, her instincts screaming for caution. "But we need to stay together." They rose to their feet slowly, scanning their surroundings. The whisper echoed again like a tune on the wind, drawing them toward the treeline. Ellen hesitated, mind racing with questions. Should they follow it? What could be lurking among the shimmering trunks? "What if it's a trap?" Jason asked, his blue eyes wide with concern. "Then we'll face it together," Ellen assured him, forcing a calm that she didn't feel. "After everything we've been through, we can't give up now." With a boldness she wasn't sure she felt, she stepped forward, each footfall muted by a thick carpet of moss. The further they ventured into the grove, the more alive it felt. The whispers grew louder, swirling, filling her with an almost irresistible pull. "Mom!" Jason hissed, breaking the moment, and Ellen turned just in time to catch him before he tumbled over a hidden root. Ahead of them, a flicker of movement caught her eye, a shadow darting between the silvery trunks. It was there and gone like a breath on the edge of consciousness. "Did you see that?" Jason whispered, his voice trembling. "Yes," she breathed, heart pounding now. "And I think it wants us to follow." As they pressed deeper into the heart of the forest, the whispers crescendoed, flowing neatly into the rhythm of her heartbeat. Suddenly they burst into a clearing filled with ethereal glow, where something or someone stood silhouetted against the backdrop of shimmering light. "Find me," the voice called again, now unmistakably closer. Ellen's heart cranked against her ribs, dread mixing with the thrill of hope. She took a step forward, drawn to the figure that beckoned them, when a deafening rumble shook the ground beneath them. The brilliant lights dimmed as darkness crept back in, and panic surged again. "Jason! Run!" But before they could escape, the shadows coiled around them, whispering dreams and fears alike. What horrors lay behind the comfort of the trees? And what did that figure really want? Ellen's grip on Jason tightened as they spun toward the incoming shadows, fear racing through her like wildfire. The whispers crescendoed into a scream, shaking her to the core. Would they uncover the truth about the figure in the clearing? Or would it prove to be another trap set by the darkness? The shadows enveloped them, cold and suffocating. Panic coursed through Ellen as the whispers morphed into a cacophony of despair, voices twisting together, each one echoing a different fear. She could feel Jason's small body trembling beside her, and that only made her more frantic. "Mom, I can't see," he cried, eyes wide, helpless. "Stay close," she shouted, straining to keep her voice steady despite her own rising dread. She reached for him, her fingers brushing against his arm, grounding her in the swirling chaos. Suddenly the darkness parted. A flickering light broke through, illuminating the shape of the figure in the clearing. It was no longer just a silhouette, it took on form, becoming a woman, her features soft yet shrouded by the strange glow. "Follow me," the voice was a soft caress now, almost soothing, intermingled with a strength that sent shivers down Ellen's spine. "You're safe, Mom, it's a trick. We can't trust her," Jason shouted. Before Ellen could respond, the shadows around them surged forward, wrapping around her legs like creeping vines. She stumbled but forced herself to stay on her feet. "Stop! Get away from us!" she screamed, even as the tendrils of darkness tightened. Then, like a wave crashing against the shore, the shadows receded, pulled back by the mysterious figure. Ellen gasped as the girl stepped forward, revealing a face she almost recognized, a face that mirrored her own. "You have to remember," the girl urged, her voice echoing in the air like a melody Ellen couldn't quite place. "You're not lost. You came here for a reason. Who are you?" Ellen stammered, heart racing as pieces of an old memory began to surface, an image of laughter, of secrets shared late into the night. A name danced on the edge of her consciousness, just out of reach. Before the girl could answer, the darkness snapped back like a whip, striking the earth and sending shockwaves through the clearing. Ellen stumbled again, catching Jason just as he fell. "Mom! Make it stop!" Jason's voice was urgent, filled with terror. "Stay with me," she shouted, holding Jason tight. There was no way she would let him go now. They had come too far, faced too much. The figure reached out a hand towards them, the glow intensifying. "You must remember. It's your choice." "What choice?" Ellen shouted back toward her, desperation clawing at her throat. "Life or fear," the girl replied, her voice clearer now, but still just a whisper on the edge of a scream. "Face it and you will find your way back." Ellen felt the weight of that choice pressing against her, a battle between the warmth of the past and the cold grasp of the present. The whispers grew louder, pleading, urging her to give in, to slip away into the shadows. But she couldn't. Not now, not when Jason needed her more than ever. Ellen glanced at Jason, and in that moment, she felt the stirrings of courage forging within her, an ember igniting a wildfire. "We're not afraid of you," she yelled into the darkness, the words rushing from her chest, heated and fierce. Suddenly, the darkness roared back at her, an angry serpent lashing out. The shadows twisted, converging into a dense fog that threatened to pull them under again. "Mom!" Jason cried out, eyes welling with tears. Drawing a deep breath, Ellen squeezed Jason's hand tighter, preparing to face the shadowy threat before them. "Just remember," she said, her voice steady. "I'm right here and I will always fight for you." As the darkness lunged, she stepped forward, stepping into the void between fear and hope. Would they uncover the truth hidden within the whispers, or would it tear them apart? The truth lay in the shadows, but time was slipping through their fingers. The next moment was everything harnessing courage against the darkness. It came down to just one question. Could they defy what threatened to consume them? The moment the shadows lunged, Ellen felt her heart hammering in her chest, pounding a drumbeat of dread. She leaned into the warmth of Jason's small body pressed against her. She couldn't back down now, not when everything hung in the balance. "Stay with me," she shouted again, and her voice cut through the darkness, sounding stronger than she felt. As the fog twisted, it shimmered like the scales of a serpent, flickering in and out of existence, as if even the shadows were unsure of their intent, but fear was a heavy blanket, smothering, unyielding. Ellen's breath hitched as she felt the cold tendrils wrapping around her arms, firm yet oddly delicate, as if testing her resistance. "Jason!" she yelled, fighting against the creeping grip. "Hold on tight." Jason's fingers tightened around her own, small and frail, but there was a fire in his grip. "I don't want to lose you, Mom." His little voice trembled, ringing with an innocence threatened by malignant forces beyond their understanding. "I won't let that happen," Ellen declared, channeling every ounce of bravery she could muster. She faced the figure standing just beyond the veil of shadows, calling out, "What do you want from us?" The girl's features were stark in the dim light, vulnerability illuminating her expression. "You have to confront what you fear," she said with disbelief, determination crafting strength in her voice. "The darkness is a part of you, a part you need to understand." Ellen felt a rush of memories swell up, sharp flashes of laughter and joy mingling with demons of regret. The girl's gentle insistence was like a key, unlocking pieces of her past that had been buried far too deep. "Confront what?" Ellen said, swallowing hard, her throat dry and thick. "What do I fear?" "Yourself," the girl snapped, eyes igniting with an ethereal glow. Your choices, your past. It isn't just darkness here. It's also light waiting to break through. Don't you see? The shadows intensified, darkening around her, but Ellen could feel something hovering beneath, pushing, begging to burst into a beam of clarity, a light she hadn't allowed herself to find in so long. I'm not afraid of light, she shouted defiantly, but just then the fog parted, and she caught a glimpse of twisted reflections, memories not hers alone. They were trapped souls echoing her name, begging to escape. Ellen felt her heart sink. They were connected, bound by fear and loss, all attached to the choices she had made. Mom, look out. Jason's voice broke her moment of clarity, and Ellen turned just in time to see a shape rushing toward them, shadowy, monstrous, a grotesque amalgamation of all her fears. Ellen pushed Jason behind her, adrenaline surging through her veins. I won't let them have you. With resolve, she stepped forward into the swirling chaos, heart thumping violently. I'm not afraid of you. The figure recoiled, caught off guard by her defiance. Silence fell heavy for a beat, the shadows quivering as they processed her words. Then a low growl erupted from within the darkness, a dark creature forming, its eyes hungrily searching for weaknesses. The girl's face shifted, despair etched across her brow, pleading as she whispered, you must face them, or you'll lose him forever. Ellen's breath quickened. The weight of the choice crashed down on her. How could she choose to confront these shadows? All she ever wanted was safety, peace for Jason. But a fear struck deeper. What if she ran? Would they lose everything? She realized the truth, a painful shard cutting through fear. Running was the easy way. She had to stay, to fight, to confront what haunted her. Jason's clutch on her hand felt grounding. How could she run away when he needed her? Together, Jason. We're together. Still, the looming figure advanced, impossibly close now. Darkness dripping like black oil through the air. What if it consumes us? Jason whispered, his small body trembling in uncertainty. Ellen hesitated for just a moment, her heart twisted in a vice of anguish. Then we will burn bright together, their joined resolve ignited. But could it withstand the impending nightmare? With the shadows poised to attack, the air thick with danger, a pulse of light flickered within Ellen, a glimmer of hope amidst the tempest. Together, she yelled, ready to confront the terror head-on. Would they manage to push back the encroaching darkness, or would it swallow them whole? The battle between fear and love was about to begin. The shadow loomed, a monstrous silhouette against the dim luminescence of the cavern, its terrifying eyes fixed on them, burning with a malevolence that chilled her to the bone. Ellen held Jason's hand tighter, feeling the heat of desperation pulse between them. Together, she shouted again as she stepped forward, an automatic rush of courage flooding her veins. We will face you. The echo of her declaration rang out, defiance challenging the shadow's impending wrath. The darkness let out an unearthly hiss, but Ellen felt the surge of power in that moment. The bond of love, unbreakable and incandescent, sparked within them like lightning in a storm. The figure lunged. She could almost see the tendrils of shadow stretching toward them, eager to reclaim what had once been theirs. But in this moment, her heart surged with newfound conviction. Ring the bell, Jason, she urged, eyes locked on the malevolent form that twisted and writhed before them. With all of his strength, Jason grasped the bell, the metal cool against his palm, and for the first time he didn't hesitate. He struck it, the sound slicing through the cavern like a shard of sunlight breaking through a stormy sky. The chime rang out, powerful and bold, echoing off the glistening walls. Each note felt alive, pushing back against the darkness, forcing it to recoil. Shadows flickered, twisting like smoke, and for a moment, Ellen could sense confusion among the creature's features. You think this will save you? It roared, but Ellen sensed fear in its voice. Yes, she shouted, adrenaline guiding her. The darkness hesitated, uncertainty rippling through its form. It was weakening. Mom, keep going, Jason cried, ringing the bell again, the sound louder this time. A ferocious proclamation of their combined will. Each chime emboldened Ellen, a vehicle for their love, for the fights they had fought together. Show yourself, Ellen yelled into the darkness, the bell's reverberations filling the air with warmth. We are not afraid of you. Then the cavern trembled with anger, fissures opening beneath the obsidian shadow. Ellen felt it shift, the tides turning. the darkness began to thin, revealing the truth hidden within. Inside the shadow, images flashed like a dying flame. Face it. The girl's haunting voice echoed through the fray. Understand it. And suddenly Ellen found herself standing in front of her past the choices she had made, the regrets buried deep down, faces of those she'd lost, decisions she wished she could take back. Mom! Jason's voice jolted her back. She realized the truth that had been chained within her all along. The darkness had been a part of her, born from her fears, shaping her into someone afraid to embrace the light. But the love they shared, that was their ultimate weapon. I see you. Ellen roared, defiance erupting. I confront my pain. You don't control me. With a surge of love and power, she stepped forward, the shadows closing in. But she embraced them, absorbing their rage, not retreating but understanding. She projected warmth back into the emptiness. You cannot shatter our bond. The dark figure writhed in agony, its form shrinking under the radiance of her acceptance. The bell chimed as Jason rang it fiercely, the melody breaking through like a lifeline. They were fighting not just against darkness but for clarity and strength. What is happening? Jason shouted, eyes wide. It's working. Ellen encouraged, tears of relief streaming down her cheeks. The shadows flickered, shrinking back. We're breaking through. In that moment, the echoes of their fears surrendered, revealing the shapes of those lost, trapped in shadows, their longing faces reflected in the light that spilled forth. One by one, they released their grip on Ellen's heart. I'm sorry, Ellen cried, feeling the weight of years lift as she spoke. I forgive you. Her voice rang with conviction, sending tendrils of light deep into the cavern. And suddenly the shadows twisted and wailed, consumed by brilliance until all that remained was light. With one final swing of Jason's bell, the dark figure let out a soul-piercing shriek, surrendering to the very light it had sought to extinguish. The cavern trembled one last time, light exploding around them, enveloping Ellen and Jason in a cocoon of warmth and comfort. They held each other tighter as the whirling energy pulled them back toward the surface home. Emerging back into the crisp evening air, Ellen blinked against the fading daylight, the familiar warmth of their home wrapping around them. Jason's eyes sparkled with relief. Mom, we did it. Yes, we did, she replied, choking back tears of joy. They were back together and safe. The shadows in her heart had receded, leaving only echoes of lessons learned, but a sense of newfound strength remained as a warm ember within her. Ellen knelt and pulled Jason into a tight embrace, kissing the top of his head, swallowing the fear that had flooded her soul. Every challenge we face, we can handle when we stand together. As they turned toward home, the sun sank slowly, casting golden light over the horizon. Behind them, the old house at the end of the street stood silent, its secrets kept safe for now. Would they ever return? Perhaps one day, but for now she was grateful to be free from its grip. Ellen looked down at Jason, their hands intertwined as they walked. They had escaped the shadows, and together they were free to create new memories, conquering whatever lay ahead, side by side. She knew, despite the darkness lurking in corners yet unseen, their love would never waver. And in that moment, everything felt just right. You need to subscribe now. Be part of the journey and don't miss the next exclusive stories we have for you. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and circulate the excitement. We want to hear from you. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this thrilling conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see it. Your support makes all the difference, and together we grow stronger.